Sydney, Canada, as global affairs analyst Bociurkiw. Michael, thank you so much for being with us. So if you are President Volodymyr Zelensky, what is at stake right now for you?
Good to be with you, Zain. Well, if I was President Zelensky, I probably woke up this morning not in a very good mood, not only because I have 100,000 Russian troops amassed on my border and the president of Belarus to the north rattling his saber, but also my popularity rating is very, very down. A latest poll that came out today in the Ukrainian media, over 50% of Ukrainians believe that he can't protect them in case of an invasion. And meantime, former President Poroshenko is trying to gain prominence and rattle his political sabers as well. So Zelensky is a bit boxed in at the moment. There's no training whatsoever, really, to be a wartime president. And don't forget, this is a gentleman who is a former TV comedian.
So 50% of Ukrainians, as you say, believe that President Zelensky cannot protect them in case of an invasion. Are those 50% of Ukrainians right?
You know, I've been on CNN many times earlier on when Zelensky was elected, and I, projected the thought that he would be the people's president and do very well, different style of leadership. But on the one hand, he's, addressed the pocketbook issues that Ukrainians are concerned about. But he had a very early encounter with President Putin of Russia. And as I said recently in a CNN op-ed, President Putin is very good at the political checkmating game, and that's exactly what he's done with Zelensky. He's portrayed him as a weak and effective president, and at the same time, the Russian playbook of sowing division in the West. So it's a very, very difficult set of circumstances for him at the moment.
And obviously, the U.S. right now is weighing whether or not to send more troops to the border there in the region. They are sending military aid, which, of course, Ukraine is very happy about. But if you are Zelensky, what are your options, just in concrete terms, of protecting your people? Or is the protection of Ukrainians in the hands of NATO and the United States?
Pretty much the latter. Ukraine, although the Ukrainian armed forces are far, far better prepared than when we first met them in the OSCE in 2014, it can't stand up in an army of that force. The other thing that is happening, Zain, right now, which Russia is very, very good at, is a hybrid war. So they're conducting this. For example, all of last week, there were false bomb threats called into schools and subway stations in Kiev. And just today, the Ukrainian press reported that the city of Zaporizhia had bomb threats as well. And at the same time, don't forget, you have that big, massive area, the occupied territories controlled by Russian-backed rebels. And just in the past 24 hours, they have said they've moved in multiple launch rocket systems and snipers. Obviously, this is not equipment you get from the local hardware store. It must have come from Russia. So there's a lot going on. And just quickly, Zain, when I was with the OSCE, we had a big contingent of international observers in those occupied territories. Now they're being blocked on a daily basis by the Russian-backed rebels. So that must say something as well.
President Biden said something that was a cause of concern for a lot of Ukrainians, which was this idea that, possibly if there's a minor invasion, then maybe there would be minor consequences. When you think about NATO holistically, are all the members of NATO, be it the United States or various European NATOs, are all the members singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of how to respond to a potential Russian invasion?
Absolutely not, and it couldn't be at the worst time for this kind of division to happen. I mean, we heard President Macron of France say that he wants to act independently of U.S. NATO/Russia talks. Also, the German foreign minister made some bizarre statements this weekend saying that perhaps Putin should be taken more seriously and that Crimea will never come back into Ukrainian hands. So, look, I was in the Baltic republics just a few weeks ago, and I got the sense there that the region feels that it must act more, more together, independent of U.S. and NATO, because they're not quite confident that they can count on strong Western backing, given what's been said, given actions in Afghanistan and elsewhere.
All right, Bociurkiw, thank you so much. Appreciate you being with us.
My pleasure.
All right, still to come.